all-new Madd Hatta Show, and I have former councilwoman, what's the word they use for her? Oh, yeah, political thought leader, Amanda Edwards in the studio today.
Thank
Hello,
you, Madd Hatta.
Political thought leader. How are you today?
Well, thank you
I like
for
that
having
title.
me.
I don't know.
Listen, I'll take it.
I don't know who made it up, but I saw it associated with your name. And I'm like, political thought leader. But you are. You've been in politics. This has been your lifestyle. You love politics and what you can do when you get in there and you can do things for your community. You do love it. So, yes, you are a leader as far as that's concerned. What are you doing now? No. I'll find that out in a minute. What I want to know is, this is a true question. When you're on city council,
Okay.
what is going on in there all day? All I think it is a group of people who get together and scream and fuss about stuff, and we don't get anything done. I could be wrong, so I need clarity on that. Because I'm just getting television clips. I'm like, all they do is fighting.
Well, let me tell you, when I was there.
Whoa.
No, it's I explain it to people like this. It's the governing body for the city. So that's where the decisions get made, policies on the local level get passed, contracts that the city has to utilize to operate, pick up garbage, all those things. Sure. All those decisions get made in that forum. So it's a space for a lot of deliberation, as it should be. There's 16 council members in addition to having your mayor. So that's 17 people who have an opportunity to vote each and every single Wednesday. And so they should be debating topics. They should be discussing and figuring out what they're spending your money on. I'm
glad you changed that.
And also, what's the direction that the city needs to head? And so we also, in addition to looking at what's immediately before you in terms of an item you've got to vote on, you also need to have a vision for where we need to be going as a city. And part of that is what you get, what you learn, what you hear when people are coming up. There's something called public session that many people don't know about. And so if you are interested in trying to get involved locally in politics, on Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 1:30.
You stuff that those people probably do not want.
I know they don't want me to tell you. I'm gonna tell y'all a secret.
You said that, I'm like, ooh.
On Tuesdays, you can come to something called public session. All of the city council members and the mayor go to public session every week. And as a resident, as a member of this community, you have every right to sign up by calling the city secretary's office. You sign up and you can speak for 3 minutes about whatever you would like. So you can talk about that pothole in your street. You can talk about issues around crime. You can talk about why isn't Houston competing for X? Whatever it is that is on your heart and your mind that you want to see be changed or, acknowledged, you can come to public session and discuss it. So there's no policing of what the parameters are.
How effective is that when it happens for someone to come there and they have some good dilemma going on in their community or life that they share with all the counselors? So
I would say the best approach when you want to advocate for yourself and your community, first you want to reach out and call your council member. You want to reach out to their office, send them an email, call their office, tell them what's going on so you can have an advocate aware of the issue. Sometimes the kind of issue you might have is something that might require you to have call something called, we call 311. And so you get a ticket number, which is important because that allows them to track you in the system. Did we finish or resolve your problem, right? It depends on the type of problem that it is. And so you call, step by step. How do you advocate for yourself? But you want to do that and work in concert with your council member. Now, let's say you call your council member, you've been sending emails and nobody's answering. That's when you come to public session. Because I will tell you, there's a TV in public session. So people don't like to get clowned on television. That is not.
They will make the news.
They don't like that. Yes, exactly. So that being said, you will have people's prompt attention. And there's also a wealth of resources available to help fix the problem. So they'll say, oh, we're going to connect you with Lisa or Joe in the XYZ department. Come talk to them in the back or what have you. So it's not always that way. It depends on what the type of problem it might be or the issue is. But call them first, give them the courtesy to try to help you. And if you're not seeing any progress, public session is a very important alternative to that.
I appreciate that information. I'm sure.
And most people don't know it exists, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
how many most people don't watch municipal TV at home, so they don't know this is happening every Tuesday. Now, there's some that watch religiously, and they'll be like, "Why did you say that today?" You know, but a lot of people don't know that exists, and so that's part of what I like to do is empower and equip people with information on how they can advocate for themselves and get the results they deserve. You can't just wait on somebody else just to do it for you. The other thing I will say is the squeaky wheel does get the grease and the oil. And so in this instance, if you are not saying something is an issue,
it don't get done.
It won't be on the radar because everybody else who has put it on the radar of the folks who are part of that council, those are the issues that get prioritized. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not saying anything or vocalizing your concerns,
don't be mad.
Yeah, so there you have it. And now you've gotten this inside scoop. So you can't now say that you didn't know.
Now it's going to be hard for you if you ever want to be back on the council again for you get through, because they're going to be like, all she's going to do is tell our business and make things hard for us, man. Here's another question. What got you involved in politics? Because I learned recently that you went to Big Ike. That is your alma mater.
You mean I'm a Mighty Eagle?
So how does Mighty
From the illustrious Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower High School in the Aldine ISD School District. I appreciate you asking me about it. Interestingly enough, I've kind of always been interested in getting involved in politics, but really what gave me real purpose behind it was actually something really serious. When I was growing up, my dad got very sick with something called multiple myeloma, which is a really aggressive form of cancer. Mm-hmm. And I was a teenager at the time, and I remember learning from my dad's experiences. I remember asking questions like, well, what happens if this insurance stuff, because I didn't know what insurance was, but I was learning, and I said, well, what if they say no to some of his life-saving treatments? And my dad he would answer me by saying things like, well, if they do, we just have to figure something else out. And I just knew, I was a young teenager, and I just knew that wasn't the right answer. And at that, it clicked for me that politics and policy, like we got to have systems that actually make sense. And our healthcare system doesn't make any sense. Like, so you're telling me somebody could just randomly say no just because, and then you die? Huh? As a teen, and especially when I'm dealing with my father, his illness, that seemed crazy to me. And so it really kind of shed light that when you think about politics and public service and all of these people in these decision-making bodies, it has to be about more than just a title or a swivel chair or a name placard. It's got to be about you understanding the seriousness of the job itself and the fact that people's lives are lying in the balance of the decisions you make or choose not to make. So if we have these broken systems and we continue to allow them to be broken, how many lives do we lose in that process? And so it really kind of shed light and made me mature in understanding that politics has to be about more than politics. It's got to be about being effective and impactful for people who are counting on you to get things done, not just to talk about them, because we love to talk. But the question is, what have you done? Because people, communities, families, people's lives, all of that is in the balance of policies that we make.
Got you. Excuse me. Now, I have to mention this because Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman, she just passed. I know at one point you were running against her, but I know you've also worked with her as well.
Yes.
Just your thoughts on that per se, not just running against her, but whom she was and what she was to the community, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, we lost a giant in losing Congresswoman, and it's a little surreal still. Because, of course, she just passed away just a few months ago at this point. But I worked for her 20 years ago in her Washington, D.C. office. So I used to joke and say, that's where I learned to work hard and run fast, because a congresswoman was everywhere and understood that the needs of the community were urgent. And that's important. I think sometimes when people are in politics, they see the community piece as an afterthought or on an aside. And I think she always knew the importance of championing the rights of people, standing up for what's just. Even if people weren't standing around her, she was going to stand up. and vocalize what was right and push forward. And then she wasn't afraid, to speak her piece and to try to seek justice. And I think our community certainly is grateful for the work that she's done over this many years. It's been, decades of service that she was able to extend to us. And so, I just want us to be able to carry on her legacy by continuing to serve this community. And that district is such a special one because, it was the home and district of Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland. So there's a lot of rich history there in terms of just the 18th Congressional District. But she represented everybody. It wasn't just the people in her district. She never asked, where do you live? And then say, oh, I can't talk to you because you're not in my district. It was always, if you were a person, if you were people, she cared. And that was something that I think was a really great example for a lot of people who are in politics, is to know that you've got to prioritize the community needs. All
right. So look, we're in this political season, and I won't ask you to choose sides or anything like that. We can't do that. But it is a tumultuous time in politics. Yes. And I'm just curious how this plays, really not just now. This is a question I think is even broader than that, because being a woman and then being a black woman in politics seems to be, it seems hard to me. Not only do you get disrespect because you're a woman, you get disrespect to me because you're a black woman and in this political game.
Yeah, I mean it's a tightrope, and it is a tightrope because you can't be, when you're a woman in politics, you've got to be firm. People have to know you can take control. People have to believe that you can run things and not be pushed over. But at the very same time, you got to be likable, and people want to make sure that you're nice, and you can't be too harsh, and you can't be. And so it's a tightrope that I think our community imposes upon women who are running, and then of course black candidates that are running. Similar situations in terms of the way that you're judged. It's different, and so I think, since, we have a black woman on the top of the ticket running for president, I think people have looked and scrutinized things like her laugh and what does that mean? And, it just, at the end of the day, I remember when Hillary Clinton was running against Donald Trump, and people would make comments like, well, I'm not going to vote for her because I can't go have a beer with her. And I wanted to say, public service announcement, you're probably not going to have a beer with most of the presidents. So that shouldn't be the reason why you are making this decision, But sometimes we get irrational with that decision, and it really isn't a decision about whether I like your personality, whether I like you. This is not a friendship. This is actually who is competent and in line with the values that you hold and the future that you want to have and preserve for your family. So we often make it about these candidates when the truth of the matter is it's really about you. And what you do at the ballot booth is a reflection of you. And you've got to pick between the choices presented who best represents it. Now, is there going to be 100% alignment on every issue and every concern that you have? No. But where are those values aligned? You've got to ask those questions for yourself. And what community you want to create? I literally just gave a presentation last night on Project 2025 talking about what's in it. And people didn't know,
Still?
Yeah, people don't know. Okay. I mean, they heard of
that
it.
word. They know
yeah,
that
but
phrase.
They don't really know. Like when you start getting into the specifics, like it can, gets rid of the Department of Education, things like that. Well, what does that actually mean on the ground for my household? And when you start really saying, oh, well, this is how this translates to your family, then it starts to click that this really isn't about a candidate that I like. This is actually about the family and community I want to create.
How do you get that kind of information out there? Because what politics usually ends up being is a popularity poll. Who's popular or saying cool, savvy stuff in the interview or when they're going head to head with somebody. These days, who can say the most hurtful stuff? Anyway, how do you get that information out there, though, about all these different aspects? Or what do you do when there's misinformation out there about you? Like somebody might start this information about you that has nothing to do with anything that you've done, but it's been perpetuated so much.
Yeah.
What do you do?
And I think that's where it comes out. Michelle Obama put it plainly, and she said it's not enough just to have an opinion about something. You got to do something. So when you hear things like people saying things that are untrue, you've got to be that messenger to correct it. The candidate themselves, if the candidate spent all of their time correcting misinformation and dealing with things that are intended to distract, then they would never be able to cross that finish line successfully. True. And that's the point of all of this, is to distract, deter, get you off course. But as community members, as people who support particular candidates, you can actually use your social media page to say, I heard about this rumor. Let me correct it. You see all the time people have the little Snapchat and the Instagram videos with the floating heads. You can make your own little video.
Pointing up. Like when that person makes that point.
Exactly. And you make your own little video.
No doubt.
I mean, you talk about all the other things. Right. Just make that one of the things that you put in your rotation of things you discuss on your own platforms. Yeah. And there's no better provider of information than peer-to-peer. So if I trust you and I know Madd Hatta would never say anything false, I look to your page. Why should I go somewhere else? I know you always research it first. So if you then use your page to say, hey, this has been spread and this actually isn't true. Right. And here's what is true. And you don't have to use it to be, to talk bad about anybody. You could just literally say, here's the information. Here's the information.
Do with it what you want.
There you go.
I will do that kind of stuff. I say, I just post stuff that I'm interested in. Every now and again, though, people gonna still get mad at you. But anyway, I digress. How important is the election? And this is any year, because you hear so much, well, my vote doesn't count. And I'm the person, I say, I'm gonna err on the side of caution. This is the ignorance in me. If it doesn't matter or count, I'm gonna vote anyway, just in case it does. I know that sounds crazy, but I say that to myself. I've voted in every election since I've been able to vote. And if it doesn't count, I'm never going to know, because I'm still going to vote anyway, just in case.
So first of all, it absolutely counts. It absolutely matters. And I think people get confused when they start having that conversation about the impact of the Electoral College, right? Right. And so the Electoral College, those votes are ultimately what is the determining factor. Agreed. Those are the determining factors of who is actually selected. But you don't just have the presidency on the ballot. Right. So on all of these other races, there's, that's not what you're looking at in terms of, when you're voting on these ballot propositions. You're voting for your local, your state reps. You vote on a lot of things when you go cast that vote. So you vote for the person that you think represents you. Your voice does matter. If everybody has that same view, then we'll never make progress in our state. But if we all start really thinking about this, if we could all be responsible for bringing 4 new people to vote this cycle, that would be amazing in terms of your ability to have your vote count and how far-reaching that is. So just kind of think about it in those terms. The other thing is, what is on the ballot? Well, you've got the presidency, you've got your Senate races, you've got your congressional races, you've got your state rep races, you've got your judges up and down the ballot. I mean, you've got so many individuals to vote for in addition to propositions. Yeah. So if you don't care about that, go vote because of the propositions. There's the HISD proposition on the ballot. There's the proposition from the Harris County Flood Control District on the ballot about taxes. There's stuff on the ballot.
Can they go? Is there somewhere they can go and see all this? Like, what am I? If I'm in the Houston area, Harris County, where can I go and find out everything that's going to be on the ballot? That
for you specifically, they can actually provide you with a sample ballot that matches your area. Yeah. All you have to do is go to harrisvotes.com and put and type in and seek your sample ballot, and all you have to do that is type in your first and last name and your address, I think it is, and then it'll pop it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally. I think when I timed it, just to tell, so I could tell you how long it was going to take, it was less than a minute. Yeah. So I had it on my phone in less than a minute. So you could do that. Get up. I mean, y'all scrolling on your phones for other stuff. You could just scroll on over to harrisvotes.com and type it in real quick and look and see. And then you do that beforehand. And then do your research, just like anything else. What is this about? What is this? What does this increase my taxes to? What is this going to be spent on? Do your research, or talk to somebody that you know who's well informed, or a combination of both. And then you know what's on the ballot. You can advocate for positions, and you can help campaigns around individuals or ballot measures, whatever it is. But you can pull it up. Every time I recommend just pulling up a sample ballot. I wouldn't do that as you walk in.
No. It's
but
too late.
But you don't have to, it doesn't have to be, sometimes people, make it more than it has to be. It's just like anything else that you would be looking up, look it up, see if you have questions. If you do, ask them.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is finding out if you're able to vote. I know that a lot of people were purged just recently.
Absolutely.
And some people, I think that people need to just go check just because I don't trust certain people.
Yeah.
I just think you need to look just to make sure, because I did, because as soon as I heard that the purge happened, and I think in Texas, was it either 500,000 or
no more? Yeah, over 1 million people have been purged since 2020.
Yeah.
So this is a period of time, but yes, under the guise of voter integrity and all these things. And so you need to check.
I love the word you just used, under the guise of. It's real.
So, but you need to go check. And so Secretary of State is the way to go check that. Very easy, even faster. So I actually have the link on my Twitter and then on my Instagram handles, but you can just Google it.
Give it real quick.
Oh, it's got like it's long. It's,
gosh.
One of
you
those.
can also do vote.
So just go to Secretary of
State.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really, really quick.
Yeah.
But I think everyone, before you get out there, and I love the early vote because I don't want to stand in no line.
And
make sure you are, registered to do this.
And just key dates to remember. October 7th is the deadline to register to vote.
Yep.
After October 7th, don't go check. Don't call and ask, can I still do this? And if you've moved, this is something that could be impacting you. So these are things that I'm a deputy registrar, so I can register people to vote. And when I talk to people, they're like, well, what if I moved? And I'm like, what does your license say? Like, you have to kind of check all of those things. And so it is something I highly recommend you get corrected on time before you are walking up to the polls and then somebody's telling you can't vote. And so do that now. October 7th is the deadline to get registered. So do the checking today. It's literally going to take you 30 seconds. And then so check Secretary of State website and then check and see if you need to get registered. Not a problem. You can just get registered.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated to do it. So you just have to go and actually go get it done. You don't have to go in person. So we have actually brought you some forms for anybody who needs some.
You can get them from me virally.
We try to make it as easy as possible.
Are you doing something with voter registration as well?
Yes. So we actually we've got an initiative we're calling Do Something Houston Voter Registration Initiative, where we're meeting the voters where they are. So instead of expecting them to come to us, we're going to them. And so we're going to church because that's where the voters are. We're going to eateries because that's where the voters are. And so tomorrow we're actually going to be at Frenchy's in 3rd Ward all day. And so starting at 11 o'clock, we'll be there until about 7 o'clock. And then on Sunday, we'll be at Fallbrook Church. But we've been going to different churches around town, getting people registered to vote. And you'll be surprised how many people say, oh, well, I need to get registered, or my neighbor might need it, or I changed my address. And so it's things that they're not thinking about on the top of their head until somebody makes them pause.
Okay.
And then they say, oh, you're right. I did move. I do need to handle this. And so
please, y'all, please. It's very important. I think a very important.
Yeah. And one thing I will say to you also that most people don't know, did you know that high schools in Texas are compelled by state law to give 18-year-old applications to register to vote? And many of them do not adhere to that.
They're supposed to.
The state law requires that.
And it's been a long time
many
for
people
me, but
don't do it.
They gave them to us when we were in school, if I remember correctly. But I'm from North Carolina. But I didn't know that was a Texas thing.
That is a Texas law that most people don't. That is a Texas law, yes, that is not often followed. And so you also can find out if your child.
You've been dry snitching on a lot of people today. That girl will snitch on you. Texas gonna be mad at you. There's some politicians like, ooh, She snitched too much.
So we got to get them adhering. Think about it. All these 18-year-olds.
Snitching at his best.
You are the mess hatter. So we're going to get these 18-year-olds registered. So they have until Tuesday to get this done.
Yes. Give me one more point before we end this that you think is really important that people should know.
Yeah, I would say, one of the things that you can do too in terms of just being engaged and helpful is using your social media platforms, not just to debunk bad information and misinformation, but also with key dates. Things like when is early voting, October the 21st through November 1st. Posting that kind of stuff helps people because they'll go rolling up there on November 2nd or November 3rd and say, where is everybody? And it's like, well, early voting is over. And so people don't necessarily know that intuitively. So using your platforms to do that goes a long way.
All right, I'm going to need somebody to get me a graphic done so we can handle that. But if you got a graphic, I'm going to put it up on my page because I'm lazy.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, well, we got one.
Do y'all really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I just steal it from your page.
There you go.
Okay. I will steal from your page.
It's
I have
okay.
no problem or shame with that.
Go for it.
Some of my best viral videos were all stolen from somebody else's. I'm just keeping it real.
That's
Amanda
okay.
Edwards, I hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. You got it.
And I will
enjoyed
say
it.
good luck for whatever you're doing in the future.
Well, I will continue to empower and keep people engaged on ways they can get involved. And we've just got this countdown. I think we're 33 days away from election day. So we are all hands on deck on getting at least everybody in this community activated and not just having opinions, but vocalizing them through their vote. So that's our
Ladies and gentlemen, your
focus.
political thought leader of Houston, Amanda Edwards.